Yeah, that's right. You read the title, and no, it's not clickbait. What is up, everybody? James Jackson here, back again with another video. If you're new to my channel, I do tips and tricks, news, and review for the film and video making industry. So if you do like the content here, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you can stay up to date on all the content going forth. Woo! It is, look, I know a lot of people, there's a lot of things been saying about the R5, both positive and negative. Look, apparently it's still the hype train worked because Canon is already saying they've already outmaxed what they were going to do on initial shipping. So they're already expecting delays. So hey, it worked. Say what you want, it worked. But that's not what we're here to talk about. As you probably read in the title, I'm posing a question, and this is really sort of more theory crafting hypothesis, is that is it possible that the Canon R5 is a better camera than the Canon C200? Now, anybody watching this will probably look at this and go, well, that's ridiculous. The C200 is a true cinema camera. The R5 is a hybrid camera that's really primarily shooting photos. This is an insane, common, insane, asinine statement. It's blasphemous.
That is blasphemous. That is blasphemous.
As someone who owns the Canon C200, who is filming on the Canon C200 right now, who loves the camera, I don't know if that's the case, because I'm going to tell you that there may be two items that if you were to purchase these two items along with the R5, you can make the argument that the R5 is a better camera. Let's look at what does the R5 does better than the Canon C200. It has actual 10-bit 422 4K capabilities internally. And also you can actually go 10-bit 422 4K out externally as well. The Canon C200 can't do that at all, both internally, externally. You can record 4K, and you can record 4K up to 60 frames per second, but it's only 8-bit. And if you go externally, it's only 8-bit 422. You cannot do 10-bit. The only way to do 10-bit is going out, I believe, of the SDI, and you can only do it in full HD. You cannot do it in 4K. So that's an advantage. The other advantage, slow motion, at least possibly for right now. 4K slow motion. We have to see how good it is, but I can tell you right now, slow motion, 120 frames per second, 1080 on the C200 is garbage. I would never, ever use it on any project. I don't. It's way too soft. It is not pleasing whatsoever. I would never use the 120 frames per second unless it's like the client is absolutely demanding, and I had no other choice but to use this camera. IBIS would be another thing, because there's no in-body image stabilization on the C200. Even digital IS, it's not on there. Autofocus is much better on the R5 than the C200, because the C200 only does 80% of the sensor when using its autofocus supports, and the R5 does 100% of the sensor using its autofocus points, and you can use eye detection autofocus while you're recording video. You can't do that in autofocus. You can only access the eye AF when you are set to manual mode. And then, of course, we got to get into the fact that the R5 shoots 8K RAW. The Canon C200 only shoots 4K RAW up to 60 frames per second. Like, that's a terrible thing or something. So those are the key things that the R5 has over the C200. Now let's go over to the C200. What does the C200 has? Well, it has so much better functionalities and so much more features set for video. It has waveforms. The R5 does not. It has shutter angle. The R5 does not. It has built-in NDs. The R5 does not. It has built-in professional audio XLRs. The R5 does not. So these are some of the things that the C200 does, and also, of course, it has a fan so you don't have to worry about any heating issues, unlike the R5. So given the dynamics and the differences between the two cameras, personally, the C200, with just looking at it from body only to body only, or I guess feature set, is that clearly the C200 is better. It's got all the features you need, and it just works flawlessly. Now, there's two items that you can add to the R5, and if you were to add these two items, I will tell you right now, 98% of the advantages that the C200 have are eliminated. And just if you factor in the price of these two things, you're still under the price of the current price of the C200, the full C200 set. So let's start with the first one. The first one being the drop-in neutral density ND filter. Well, right now it's going for $400. So you got that, which will give you anywhere between I believe it's like 1.5 to 9 stops of NDs, which is very comparable to the built-in NDs of the C200, which is anywhere between 2, and if you open the extended version, you get 10 stops of NDs. This is under the assumption that you already have a set of EF glass. You can share EF glass, and just like the C200, you don't have to worry about screwing on or mounting different ring adapters or anything. It's basically kind of built into the camera itself. And now the next item we're going to talk about pretty much eliminates almost all of the features, except for a few, that the Canon C200 has over the R5. And that is this guy right here, the Blackmagic Video Assist 7-inch 12G HDR recording monitor. So let's look at exposure tools. Right now, the C200, you can do waveform monitors, you can do zebras, and you can also use a built-in design that will allow you to sort of get a clear understanding of middle gray. Well, with the Video Assist, you actually get access to false color. So, and you still get access to all of those features that's in the C200. So you still get waveform monitors, you get zebras, you still get those tools, but then you get false color, which is, to me, the best exposure tool to have. It's way better than waveform monitors. And on top of that, you get a blue channel section like the Atomos monitors, which allows you to see noise better. The only thing that's missing is the middle gray assist function in the C200, but quite honestly, the false colors completely takes care of that. If you know how to read the false colors, you will have no problem having to work with that. So now let's talk about audio. Well, on the Blackmagic Video Assist monitor, you actually get 2 XLR mini. Now they're minis, but then you get 2 XLR plugins. And on the other side, you get a 3.5 millimeter jack. So you actually have 3 different sources of audio. Now you can only choose choose 2. You can't choose 3 separate ones with the Video Assist. But you can use the 2 XLRs on the Video Assist, and then you can still record into the camera with a 3.5 millimeter jack, which now you have 3 different sources of audio. Now, speaking of recording, let's get to recording. And as you saw on the Video Assist, you have 2 UHS 2 SD card slots. Same thing on this Canon C200. You get 2 UHS 2 card slots, but with these, you can record ProRes or DNX or even Blackmagic RAW if the camera allows it to those SD cards. Now, I need to preference this. Now, this is still one of the advantages the C200 will still have over the R5. You cannot dual record with these 2 SD cards. You can only do relay recording with these. But the point is, you can actually go out of the HDMI of the R5 and get ProRes. And not only that, it's been told through Pro AV TV that you can this is still accessible even in the 4K HQ, which is the oversampled 8K mode. So, which means your ProRes files are going to be even sharper, even more detailed, and more fine. And you get to record those ProRes files to SD cards. Now, I have to really strongly preference by saying there's a very, very strict strict guidance on what type of SD cards to use. In fact, it's so strict, I only saw 3. One was a SanDisk, I think it was like a 64 gigabyte SanDisk card. The other one was a Sony Tough SD card. That was like 128. And then there was one more. But essentially, they were all V9. Those are the only certified cards that Blackmagic recommends with those, with this monitor. If you're going to shoot 4K 60, those are the only cards they recommend. So if you do go this route of getting the Blackmagic Video Assist, then you are going to probably have to make sure you get one of those 3 cards. Now, I know you're looking at this, it's like, well, why do I have to get another recorder? I already got a monitor on there, and that's one of the advantages of the C200. It has a monitor. Yeah, you're right. It has a monitor, and it's a pretty solid monitor. That is until you're outside in the bright sun in its full glare. Because I can tell you right now, as an owner of this for 2 years, this monitor, and I'm looking at the monitor right now, it's completely useless in the sun. Completely useless. You can't see anything in it. Which is where one of the big features about this guy right here, because this has 2,500 nits of brightness, which means even in the brightest of brightest sunlight, you will be able to see the image on the screen. You're probably going to have to get a external monitor, whether if it's one of the Atomos monitors or even this monitor. You're going to have to get an external monitor if you're doing any shooting outside with the Canon C200. I'm just, as someone who owns it and actually works with it, it's a fact. So do you remember all those advantages that the Canon C200 had at the beginning? XLR, gone. Better exposure tools, gone. This will actually give you better exposure tools than what's built into the C200. Oh, by the way, for the C200, you can't import LUTs. You can't import LUTs into the C200. So if you have your own custom LUTs or you want to have your own specific look, you can't put it into the camera. You can put it into the video assist. So you would need to get an external monitor anyway if you want to see, if you have like a custom LUT you want to use on a project and you want to see it, because the C200 does not allow you to do that. And then also the overheating. Again, Canon's already stated, you go out of the HDMI, even though the camera will still warm up, they said you won't run into heating issues typically if you're only recording externally. So with this thing, you have SD cards that you can relay record to. You have all the focus and exposure assist features. You have where you can import LUTs. You got XLR inputs, basically bypass the record limits, which was another advantage of the C200. And then your overheating issues theoretically are pretty much eliminated. Theoretically, as we don't know. I'll find out when we get our hands on the camera. So people, the only thing that is left at that point is the fact that the C200 still has shutter angle, which to me is still a great advantage. Canon, please put shutter angle into the R5. R5, R6, but definitely the R5, put shutter angle in. There's no reason why this shouldn't have shutter angle. And the only other thing is the fact that, like, if you're really about solid NDs, that's fine. But again, this is a Canon drop-in ND filter, so it's designed to work with the EF glass. If you really think about it, you got everything, almost everything that the Canon C200 has. And then on top of that, you got actual 10-bit 422. You can record to ProRes, which is a far more usable codec that everybody can use. And you can use ProRes in 10-bit 422. You can't do that with the C200. And with the news that we reported earlier that Canon Log 3 is coming to the R5, you're going to have the same amount of dynamic range as the C200. And you still get 8K raw video, possibly more based on what some of the rumors are saying. You may have more raw recording options in the R5. So understand, yes, this monitor is pricey. It's basically $1,000, and then it's $400 for the drop-in variable ND filter. But that's so $1,400 for those two. But keep in mind, the price of the R5 is $3,900. So you drop $1,400 on top of that. That is $5,300. $5,300 is still cheaper than the current price of the Canon EOS C200. Now, is all of a sudden the Canon C200 obsolete? Let's be clear. It's not. It's not absolute. This is a fantastic camera. Anybody who questions this, the validity of this camera, I'm still rocking it today. But this really puts into perspective of the potential of what the R5 is capable of. Albeit, we got to see how its performance can handle in certain situations. But if it looks like it can be solid for a good majority of things, theoretically, this is a better camera than the C200. In fact, I would even say it is like the perfect hybridization with those two things, just those two things. It's like the perfect hybridization of the C500 Mark II and the C300 Mark III. It is that is the baby child of both of those things. You got a full frame camera like the C500 Mark II with high frame rate options of the C300 Mark III that is still RAW capable and has with this setup a good option with ProRes. So this is my theory. I cannot wait to test this theory out and see how it compares with the C200. But I would love your guys' thoughts on this. What do you guys? Am I being crazy saying that this thing can compete with the C200? Let me know. Leave a comment below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button again and hit that like button. All of this does help my channel out. Greatly appreciate any support that you guys can do. But until next time, take care, everyone.